Lucas, if you could tell me, there's tents popping up in and around now. It's always been an issue, but I mean, it seems more now with the summer. There was one in the east end of Victoria Park that was taken away, I believe, yesterday. There's numerous ones at the bottom of Hibernia Street, and I believe some people are telling me there's some up at the railway tracks by Home Hardware.
Yep.
Comment?
Okay, Pete, first I think we have to first acknowledge that this is not a fun topic for anyone to discuss. Seeing people in our community sleeping rough is an unfortunate reality in our current day and age, and I would be remiss if I didn't start from a place of compassion first. Nobody wants to see another human being living like this. Nobody wants to see individuals with nowhere else to go and no services provided and being forced to live in tents in our community. And I think it's just really important that we start, that myself and I know I can speak for all of council when I say that nobody wants to see this, and that it is something that not only Cobourg is dealing with, but every township, every city, every province across our country right now. This is part and parcel of a situation that is ever evolving. And as you said yourself, these encampments just spring up. We've been dealing with encampments for years now in this community, and we are going to continue to do that. I'd like to issue the press release that will be coming forward, and then I'll, of course, open it up for you to ask any follow-up questions. So, Cobourg, following receipt of multiple resident complaints, on Monday, August 7th, the municipal law enforcement staff attended an encampment located by the West Pier. Based on their assessment of the site, officers found that the encampment was in direct violation of the current Parks bylaw, the nuisance bylaw, and of course our Trespassing to Property Act. A notice to vacate was issued, indicating that the individuals residing at the encampment must vacate their property by August 9th at 2 p.m. As per the Town of Cobourg's revised encampment response plan, approved by Council in July of 2022, the municipal law enforcement staff continue to work closely with individuals residing at the encampment, connecting them with the community-based supports, providing the County of Northumberland and other local agencies providing support to individuals. It's important to know that at this time, town staff have sought the legal opinion of our town solicitor, and I, as mayor, have called an emergency meeting tomorrow, Friday, August 11th, so that we as a council can discuss this moving situation and what we as a council plan on doing moving forward. Any more information regarding the decisions and discussion of council will be discussed at a later date. Now, should any residents have questions regarding town bylaws, please contact the local municipal law enforcement department. So at this time, that is the release that will be being put out into the public. And as I mentioned, there will be a emergency meeting of town council tomorrow. And at this time, Pete, I'd like to know if there's any questions you have.
Why can, I guess, first question, why can they remove one tent at the East Victoria Park but not others?
Well, I think what you're seeing here, Pete, is our staff following the procedures that were required. As is mentioned, that the place that we inspected on the 7th is in violation of the Parks bylaw, the nuisance bylaw, and the Trespass to Property Act. There have been several developments in that, Pete, and that is why I have called an emergency meeting of council, because council needs to have a fulsome discussion regarding this. This is a topic that I, as just one member of council, am not able to decide. I have my views and my opinions on the matter, and I will bring those to the table at council. At the end of the day, the decision of council will be final, and all members of council will be bound to support that decision. And what you're going to see is one of the reasons why I'm happy to take this interview today is to be very cognizant that this isn't something that the community, that our council, that our staff, that our bylaw department, and the police aren't taking seriously. There is a way of dealing with matters. There is procedures, there are policies, and there are very strict guidelines about how we are to deal with situations. And what you're seeing, and why I'm having this interview with you, is to let the community know that council understands their concerns, that council hears their concerns, that this is a sad and difficult situation that we need to navigate as a community, and that we're going to come together and have that fulsome discussion as a council. There will be information coming out after that regarding what the decision of councils has been and will be, and then that will allow staff to follow the next steps. So when you ask questions specifically about why this one won that one, now we're getting into specifics of operational procedures where I'm not in a position at this point to discuss those until such time that I, as one of 7, have had the opportunity to come together and to decide that what we as a council are going to do as a team. Because that's what I've always said from day one here as the mayor, that we would work as a team. And while I may have very strong opinions about one side or the other side, it's not my job to control anything. It's my job to work with my teammates, who are the councillors, and come up with a decision that is the best for the most in this community.
I understand, and there was just when I was standing out in the hallway waiting to come in, there was one of the people on the Division Street that was displaced because of raw sewage. Some of them are the ones there, and again, you know, you can obviously comment, but I mean, she's saying that there was enough for 3 days, and then they're basically out on their own. I checked with Northumberland County, and they're looking into it to confirm, but they believe that there is room at Transition House. And lastly, and again, this will be all sort of one question, one big question, but I take it this has to do, or a Waterloo decision is going to come into play with this.
I would be remiss to start talking about a legal opinion before I've been provided one by our town solicitor. So, I mean, you point to that Waterloo decision, there definitely has some far-reaching implications. I think more important, and if I could maybe address your whole question series, if you will, I think this is a opportunity for this council, for this county, for this province, and for this country to start understanding that we can't keep pointing the fingers at one another. We can't keep passing the buck. The reality is that Cobourg Council doesn't have access to social welfare dollars, to social service deployment. And that's not saying it's the county's fault, because it's not. What it's saying is that we have to come together as a community, as a county, as a province, and as a country, and address that the current way of doing things isn't working. That the current system of helping vulnerable individuals isn't working. The current policies aren't working. And this is an opportunity as Cobourg, as the mayor of Cobourg, to look for partners in solving this situation. As I said, this is not a pleasant situation for the community, nor for the individuals living rough. There is no one winning here. And I think it's really important that we start looking for partners and working as a team to do what's best for the members of our community and for this community as a whole. And I think it's really poignant of a time. We're in the summer months. It's not -40 out right now. We have some time to work, and I can't speak to what is and isn't available at Transition House. Again, I have not been briefed by Transition House today on if there is or isn't availability. But you're right to touch on the Waterloo decision. You're right to touch on the fact that this has county implications, and this is a very big situation that involves a variety of partners, levels of government, and it's going to require all of us coming to the table to start finding these solutions.
Last question, and this is just observation, but because the one tent in Victoria Park was a single tent, and because these are numerous tents, I take it the number of tents complicates matters.
I'm looking forward to the meeting tomorrow with my solicitors at the town and have the town solicitors speak to council to clarify these exact kind of questions that you're asking. I think they're good questions, and these are questions that I might have a personal opinion on, but I'm not a legal expert, and I sure as heck am not a legal expert up to date on different decisions coming out of our Supreme Court. So, great question. Unfortunately, until I talk to the lawyers, I'm not really going to have an appropriate answer for you, or at least one that I'm confident enough to stand behind at this time. I wish I were a legal expert. I'm not.
Last question. I understand they have a lawyer too.
From what I understand, that may be the case. Again, tomorrow will be the day that we get abreast of all of our developments. I think the fact that I was ready to call, like today, we heard the complaints, the community spoke up. Today, the emergency meeting was called and council's meeting tomorrow. This is not something we're pushing down the line. This is not something we're not dealing with. We're going to get all of our facts straight. We're going to make some decisions, and then the community can hear about what the council's doing.